Late afternoon, a small roadside diner with only a few customers. Ethan Cole, 38-year-old single father, sat alone eating lunch, the empty chair beside him vacant like it had been for 4 years. A trembling voice interrupted. "Excuse me, my son is hungry. We have no money. Could we sit with you?" He looked up, a young woman holding a boy around 6, her eyes exhausted but kind. He pulled out the empty chair. "Please sit. This meal is on me." She bowed her head. "Thank you. You don't know how much this means." Days later, this woman would return and change his life forever. His name was Ethan Cole, 38 years old, single father working as a mechanic, widowed for 4 years, raising his 8-year-old daughter Lily alone in a small apartment above the garage where he worked, living a life measured in school pickups and bedtime stories and the constant background hum of missing someone who would never come back. He'd lost his wife to cancer, watched her fade over 18 brutal months, held her hand in the hospital room while she made him promise to take care of their daughter and to never stop believing that kindness mattered even when the world felt cruel. Anna Brooks was 30 years old, single mother who used to teach elementary school before budget cuts closed her district. Now she was unemployed, evicted from her apartment, living in a shelter with her 6-year-old son Noah, proud woman reduced to asking strangers for help she never imagined needing. Noah was 6, quiet and observant, always holding his mother's hand like he was afraid she might disappear if he let go. Smart enough to know things were wrong, but young enough to still believe his mother when she said everything would be okay. Ethan lived simply. He ate lunch alone at the same diner 3 times a week, always ordered the same thing, always sat at the same table near the window. A routine that gave structure to grief, made the days feel manageable even when they weren't. His wife had taught him before she died, help people when you can, even if it's just a sandwich, because sometimes that sandwich is the difference between hope and giving up. That afternoon, he walked into the familiar diner, nodded to the owner, Mrs. Chen, who'd served him for years, ordered his usual burger and fries, sat down to eat while watching traffic pass outside. The place was nearly empty, just sunlight slanting through dusty windows and the soft clatter of dishes being washed in the back. Peaceful in the way only quiet places can be during the drowsy afternoon hours. He was halfway through his meal when the door chimed and 2 people entered, a woman and a small boy, both looking worn and uncertain, the kind of tired that comes from carrying too much for too long. The woman approached Mrs. Chen quietly. "We just need to sit for a while. My son is very hungry. We won't cause trouble." Mrs. Chen looked uncomfortable. "This is a restaurant, ma'am. If you're not ordering anything, I can't really let you stay." Ethan heard the exchange, saw the boy's face fall, saw the mother's shoulders slump with shame, and he stood up before he could think about it. "They can sit with me. I'll order extra food." The woman turned to him, surprise and gratitude mixing in her tired eyes. "We don't want to impose. We can wait outside." "I've been hungry before. I know what it feels like. Please sit." The boy looked up at him with huge eyes. "Thank you, mister." They sat at his table, an odd trio of strangers sharing a meal that felt more significant than any of them realized. Ethan ordered 2 more plates, made conversation to ease the awkwardness, asked the boy about school and favorite subjects, learned his name was Noah and he loved dinosaurs. Anna ate slowly, trying to maintain dignity while obviously starving. And Ethan pretended not to notice, just talked about nothing important, about the weather and the traffic, and how the burgers here were better than they looked. When they finished eating, Anna looked at him with tears threatening to spill. "I'm Anna. I'll pay you back when I can, I promise." "You don't need to. Just make sure you both eat enough. That's payment enough." As they prepared to leave, Noah tugged his mother's sleeve and whispered something, then looked at Ethan. "Mom says you're a good person. I think so too." After they left, Mrs. Chen came over to clear the plates. "That was kind of you, Ethan. Most people would have looked away. My wife would have invited them to sit before they had to ask. She taught you well." He paid for all 3 meals, left a generous tip, and walked back to his garage thinking about the woman's eyes. about the shame of asking for help, about how quickly life can strip away everything except the need to feed your child. That evening, he told Lily about it while they ate dinner together at their small kitchen table. I met a boy today who was hungry, so I shared my lunch. Was he nice? Very nice and very brave. Can we meet him again? Maybe, sweetheart, maybe. Mrs. Chen later told regulars. He didn't act like he was doing charity. He smiled and talked to them like family. The boy looked at him like he'd met a hero. That evening it started raining, heavy drops that turned streets into rivers, and Ethan was finishing work at the garage when he noticed two figures huddled under the awning across the street. He recognized them immediately, Anna and Noah waiting for something. He called out through the rain. "Haven't you gone home yet?" Anna looked embarrassed. "The bus broke down. We're waiting for the next one, but it won't come for another hour. Come inside. You'll catch pneumonia out there." He brought them into the garage workshop, gave Noah a clean rag to dry off with, made tea on the little hot plate he kept in the corner. The space smelled of oil and metal and honest work. Noah was fascinated by the tools hanging on the walls, the engines in various states of repair, his eyes wide with curiosity that momentarily replaced hunger and worry. "Have you been doing this long?" the boy asked. "Many years. Do you want to try turning a wrench?" Noah nodded eagerly, and Ethan showed him how to tighten a bolt properly, explaining as he went, treating the child like someone capable of understanding rather than talking down. Anna watched them together, her son smiling for the first time in weeks, and she felt something loosen in her chest, some tightness that had been there so long she'd forgotten it wasn't normal. "Where's your husband?" Ethan asked gently while Noah worked on the bolt. She was quiet for a long moment, rain drumming on the roof, then spoke softly. "He left when I lost my job, said he couldn't handle the financial stress. I moved us out of our apartment last week. Everything we owned fits in 2 backpacks now." Ethan nodded, no judgment in his expression. "I started over too, after my wife died." "How did you survive it?" "I didn't survive it. I learned to live differently. There's a difference. I don't know where to start anymore. Every door seems closed. Start with the next meal, and with believing your son can still smile. I saw him smile today, and that means you're doing something right." She looked at him with tears finally breaking free. "You talk like someone who's been through everything. I've been at the bottom, and only kindness pulled me back up. Not money or luck, just people who chose not to look away." She smiled then, small but genuine, the first real smile she'd managed in months. They sat in comfortable silence while Noah continued playing mechanic, the rain outside creating a cocoon of warmth in the garage, and Anna realized this stranger had given her something more valuable than a meal. He'd given her a moment of not feeling alone. "Why did you help us?" she asked. "You don't know us. We could be anyone. My wife used to say that kindness isn't about knowing people, it's about recognizing their humanity, and I recognize the look in your eyes because I've worn it myself." "What look?" "The look of someone trying to hold it together for their child while falling apart inside. The look of someone who's tired of being strong but doesn't have the luxury of weakness." Anna's breath caught. He'd seen her so clearly in just a few hours, seen past the walls she'd built to protect her pride. "How long did it take you to feel normal again?" "I'm not sure I ever did, but I learned to find new things worth living for. My daughter mostly, watching her grow up, making sure she knows her mother's love, even though her mother isn't here. I'm afraid Noah will remember this, being homeless, being hungry, being the kid whose mom had to beg strangers for food. He'll remember the mother who did whatever it took to keep him safe, who swallowed her pride because his well-being mattered more. That's not something to be ashamed of, that's heroism." By the time the rain stopped, Noah had fallen asleep on a clean blanket in the corner, exhausted from the day's stress finally catching up. And Anna stood to wake him, but Ethan gestured for her to wait. "Let him sleep a bit longer. The next bus isn't for 20 minutes anyway." They stood together looking at the sleeping child, and Anna whispered, "I used to be a teacher, had my own classroom, won awards for my lesson plans. Now I'm homeless and can't even feed my son properly." "You're still a teacher. You're teaching him resilience and courage and how to accept help gracefully. Those are harder lessons than anything in a textbook. When they finally left, Anna turned back at the door. Thank you, Ethan, for treating us like people instead of problems. You are people, good people going through a hard time. There's a difference. After they disappeared into the night, his coworker Mike emerged from the office where he'd been pretending not to listen. You gave them your emergency cash, didn't you? I saw you slip something into the boy's backpack. It's not emergency cash if this isn't an emergency. You're a good man, Ethan Cole. I'm just trying to be the person my wife thought I was. A coworker later shared. That night he gave them his last $20 and his daughter's outgrown jacket. Didn't expect anything back, just wanted them warm and fed. 2 days later, Ethan came home late from work to find an expensive car parked outside his building, completely out of place in their working-class neighborhood, and Lily ran out to meet him with excitement in her voice. Daddy, Miss Anna is here and she brought presents. He walked inside confused and found Anna standing in their small living room wearing a clean white blouse and pressed slacks, holding a bakery box, looking transformed from the desperate woman he'd met days ago. I came to repay you for the meal. That's not necessary. Actually, there's something I haven't told you, something I need to explain. She set down an envelope on the coffee table, her hands steady now, her eyes clear. I was just offered a position as Community Outreach Coordinator for the Hartwell Foundation. They chose me because of my teaching background, and I want you to be our technical supervisor for a program that renovates homes for families in need. He looked at her skeptically. You work for a foundation now? That was fast. Not exactly. I don't just work for the foundation. I created it 5 years ago when my husband and I had money. We started Hartwell to help struggling families. Then everything collapsed. He left. I lost everything, but the foundation survived because it was in a trust. You founded a charity organization? With money we'd earned, yes, but I lost access to it during the divorce. I've been fighting in court for 2 years to get control back. The judge finally ruled in my favor 3 days ago, right after you bought us lunch. Ethan sat down slowly, processing this information. So you weren't just homeless. I was very homeless. The foundation existed, but I couldn't touch it. I was living in a shelter while my own organization helped other people. The irony wasn't lost on me. Why didn't you tell me? Because I needed to know if anyone could see me as just Anna, not as a charity founder or a victim or anything else, just as a woman who needed help. And you did. You saw me as human. He was quiet for a moment, looking at this woman who'd been through so much, who'd maintained dignity even in desperation. So what happens now? Now I rebuild, and I want you to help. The foundation needs someone who understands construction and carpentry, someone who can teach skills to people who need work. But more than that, I need someone who understands what it's like to start from nothing. I don't have formal credentials. You have something better. You have a heart that nobody can teach in a classroom. You looked at a desperate stranger and saw someone worth helping. That's the qualification that matters. From the window, Noah and Lily could be seen in the courtyard sharing ice cream, laughing together, and Anna pointed at them. I think your daughter needs a friend, and my son definitely does. Ethan felt something shift in his chest, some frozen place beginning to thaw. Why are you really doing this? Because that lunch wasn't just food. It was proof that I hadn't fallen so far that nobody would catch me. It was the first time in months someone looked at me without pity or judgment, just kindness. And I realized if I got my foundation back, I wanted it to be run by people like you. The next morning, newspapers ran the story. Anna Brooks, Hartwell Foundation founder, returns after 2-year legal battle. Ethan read it online and called her immediately. You could have told me you were important. She laughed. I wasn't important. I was desperate. Those are different things. And besides, you didn't help me because I was important. You helped because I was hungry. That's the point. I don't know if I can do what you're asking. I'm not asking you to be something you're not. I'm asking you to be exactly what you already are. Someone who fixes things, who teaches patiently, who treats people with dignity. That evening, he told Lily about the job offer while they ate dinner. The lady we helped wants me to help fix houses for other families. The one with Noah? Yes. Then you should do it, Daddy, because you're really good at fixing things. It's more complicated than that, sweetheart. Why? You like helping people? She needs help helping people. Seems simple to me. From the mouth of an 8-year-old came wisdom that cut through all his doubts and fears. He called Anna back. I have one condition. Name it. If I do this, we do it right. No charity that makes people feel small, no pity disguised as help. We teach people to fix their own problems. We give them tools and knowledge, not just handouts. That's exactly what I want. That's why I need you. And one more thing. What? You owe me another meal, but this time I'm cooking. He could hear her smile through the phone. Deal. 3 weeks later, they stood together at the first renovation site, a house that belonged to an elderly veteran who couldn't afford repairs, Ethan teaching volunteers how to replace rotted boards and fix plumbing, Anna teaching the veteran's grandchildren reading skills in the yard. A local reporter took photos and asked them how they met. Anna looked at Ethan and said simply, "He gave me a chair when I had nowhere to sit." The reporter pressed for more details, but Ethan shook his head. That's the whole story. Everything else is just what happened after kindness. That evening, after the volunteers left and the work was done, they sat on the porch of the renovated house watching the sun set, Noah and Lily playing in the yard, their laughter carrying on the evening breeze. "Thank you for taking a chance on me," Anna said quietly. "Thank you for coming back. Most people I help I never see again." I almost didn't come back. I almost just sent a check and moved on, but Noah wouldn't let me. He said the man who shared his lunch deserved more than money. Smart kid. He learned it from watching you treat us like we mattered. A volunteer later shared. They came to that first work site together. He taught people to fix homes. She taught children to read. Everyone said they were proof that kindness creates community. 1 month after launching the renovation program, word had spread through the city about what Hartwell Foundation was doing, about the mechanic and the teacher rebuilding homes and lives, about how anyone could volunteer regardless of skill level, because they taught everything from scratch. Ethan and Anna coordinated teams every weekend, him handling the construction side, her managing the educational programs they'd added for children and adults, teaching life skills and financial literacy, and how to maintain the homes they were repairing. Lily and Noah became unofficial ambassadors for the program, 2 kids who understood loss and resilience, who welcomed other children whose families were struggling, who proved that kindness could be learned young. At the program's 1-month celebration, Anna stood before a crowd of volunteers and donors, Ethan standing quietly in the back like he always did, uncomfortable with attention. I used to think kindness was something only people with resources could afford, that you needed excess before you could give. But a single meal taught me I was wrong. The person who helped me had just enough for himself but chose to share anyway. That's real generosity, giving when you barely have enough, not giving from abundance. She looked directly at Ethan, who tried to sink further into the crowd. If he hadn't pulled out that empty chair, I might still think I was alone, but he showed me that even strangers can choose to care, and that changed everything. The crowd applauded, but Ethan slipped out before anyone could make him speak, found Anna later in the parking lot. "You didn't need to mention me specifically." "Why not? It's true. Because this isn't about me. It's about everyone who's helping now. It started with you, that matters. It started with your courage to ask for help. That's harder than giving it." They drove to the diner where they'd first met, sat at the same table. Mrs. Chen brought them coffee without asking. She'd watched this unlikely friendship develop and approved completely. "If I'd known that lunch would turn into all this, I would have ordered dessert," Ethan said. "It's not too late. I'm buying this time." They ordered pie, ate slowly, talked about upcoming projects and families they were helping, about Noah and Lily's growing friendship, about how strange and wonderful life could be when you let kindness guide decisions. "Do you ever think about your wife?" Anna asked gently. "Every day I talk to her sometimes. Tell her about Lily, about work, about you and this program. What do you think she'd say? She'd say I'm finally understanding what she tried to teach me, that helping others helps yourself, that community isn't built on wealth but on people choosing to show up for each other. She sounds like she was wonderful. She was, and I think she'd really like you. They sat in comfortable silence, two people who'd found each other at exactly the right moment, who'd built something meaningful from a single act of sharing a meal. Over the following months, the program expanded, more volunteers, more homes, more families getting back on their feet, and at the center of it all were Ethan and Anna, two people who understood what it meant to fall and to be caught. One Saturday, while painting a house together, Noah asked Ethan, "Are you going to marry my mom?" Ethan nearly dropped his brush. "What makes you ask that?" "Because you look at her the way Daddy used to before he got mean, like she's important." "She is important." "Then you should marry her so we can all be a family." Children see things adults try to complicate. They see clearly what matters. And Noah had seen that these two broken people were healing each other. "Let's focus on finishing this house first. Okay, buddy?" "Okay, but I'm going to keep asking." "From today forward, I choose to look at each other one heartbeat longer. I will live with kindness." 1 year after that first shared meal, Hartwell Foundation opened a new community center, a place where Ethan taught basic home repair to unemployed adults, where Anna taught literacy and job skills to single mothers, where Noah and Lily ran a homework club for younger kids. The center was busy every day, filled with people learning to help themselves and each other, filled with the sound of saws and laughter and hope being rebuilt one skill at a time. At the grand opening, Anna and Ethan stood together watching the crowd, seeing the tangible result of choosing kindness over convenience that rainy afternoon in a small diner. "Do you remember what you said to me that first day?" Anna asked. "I said a lot of things. You said you'd been hungry too, that you understood. Those words gave me permission to accept help without shame. I just didn't want you to feel small. You made me feel seen. That was better than food." At the end of the day, after everyone had left and they were locking up, Anna stopped at the entrance. "There's something I want to show you." She led him to a wall in the main hallway where she'd hung a photograph. A candid shot someone had taken that first day in the diner, Ethan pulling out a chair while Anna and Noah watched with grateful hope in their eyes. Beneath the photo was a plaque. It started with a chair and a choice. Everything else followed from kindness. "You kept this?" "I asked Mrs. Chen for the security footage. Had this frame made. I wanted to remember the moment everything changed." "It's just a lunch, Anna." "No, it was proof that I wasn't invisible, that my son mattered to someone besides me. That was everything." They stood looking at the photo, remembering who they'd been a year ago, seeing how far they'd both come. "If that chair is still empty," Anna said softly, "I'd like to keep sitting there." Ethan smiled, the first real smile that reached his eyes in years. "That chair was never empty. I was just waiting for the right person to notice it." "And now?" "Now we keep pulling out chairs for other people." On weekends, they still ate at Mrs. Chen's diner, often bringing Noah and Lily, sometimes bringing families from the program, the small restaurant becoming a gathering place for people who understood that community is built one shared meal at a time. Mrs. Chen would tell new customers, "See that table by the window? That's where it started, where a man shared his lunch with a stranger. Now look at what they built." The final scene showed the four of them at that same table, Anna and Ethan, Noah and Lily, sharing a meal and laughter. The empty chair from a year ago now filled with hope and belonging, and outside the window, dozens of people walked past the community center they'd built, people learning to help themselves and others. A voiceover played, Anna's voice reflecting back. "We teach people that an empty chair isn't just space, it's an invitation. And sometimes the person you invite to sit might just change your entire world." The camera pulled back, showing the diner, the community center, the renovated homes, all the ripples spreading from one choice to share a meal. proof that kindness multiplies in ways we never see coming. If you believe healing stories like this deserve to be told, leave a comment and subscribe. We tell stories that shouldn't be forgotten, real people creating real stories, not mass-produced AI.